so excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a real pleasure to have someone who's not only a physical fitness expert, but a nutritionist and a health coach.
Woohoo!
So I just wanted to, I'm going to learn so much today. That's why I'm excited personally. So is there anything that you don't do real quick in the health arena?
I mean, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a therapist, so just putting it out there. I don't do, I don't know.
See, there's nothing you don't do. I knew it because I stalked you online. I just want to tell you that because I had to. I'm like, what is this girl all about?
I don't bake.
You don't? Okay, well.
I don't bake.
I mean, but in the health arena,
No. I love to eat baked food. I just don't bake. I outsource that because I can't bake.
Okay, well, I love baking. I'm not saying I'm a great baker, but I love baking. We'll get together sometime and do some healthy recipes, healthy sweets.
Yes.
So, Kristina, thanks again for joining me today. And I just want to know, from stalking you online, I know that for 10 plus years you've been in this health arena. Was that on purpose? And what I mean by that is, did you always know that you wanted to be in the health industry, or was there something that happened in your life that created that transition piece for you? So how did that happen?
How did we get here? So my dad is a coach. He was a marathon coach his entire life. So I grew up around sports. I started, I think, my first competition in cross country was like 6 years old. So I was always around that. I went to school for something completely unrelated. I went to school for international studies with a focus in business and a minor in French. I had an epic meltdown in the dean's office I think my first year of the graduate program. And I didn't know what was happening, but I just knew that I'm miserable. I had a full-on panic anxiety attack, and basically the year leading up to that was just also very challenging. And so everything in my body was resisting this, but I found solace in coaching. And so I was an assistant coach at Texas State, which was my alma mater. And so I coached track there. And I found myself spending more and more time with my athletes than I did, focusing on my school. And it was every time I went to practice, it was like a big sigh of relief. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, maybe I should listen to that. So I took some time off, and I never looked back. Never went back to finish my MBA, and I'm so grateful for that because here I am now, and I'm loving what I'm doing, and I've met some incredible people, and I learned a lot about myself through that process, and was able to start healing and really understanding, health, wellness, mental health, and otherwise I would be sitting behind a desk in a suit, either in government work or corporate, and I would be hating my life. And I get to wear sweats every day.
So, and that's definitely a bonus. Definitely a bonus. I love that you brought up that right away, and I didn't plan on jumping into this so soon, but I love that you talked really about a blessing in disguise. To me, that's what that was. And your body was telling you what your brain wasn't allowing you to acknowledge, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have the heart that's so much stronger than communicating to the nervous system than the brain, right? So I just think that's a really powerful message for people out there to hear that part of your story, because they might be experiencing anxiety or in the form of panic attacks or whatever it is, however their anxiety shows up, and they're ignoring it because their brain maybe doesn't want to face the reality of whatever it is, right, that's happening. But I think the message there is that you always need to listen to your body, because your body will tell you what your brain sometimes doesn't. Would you say that's...
It's 100% accurate, and that's what I work with clients on. And in addition to the brain, it's our ego. Our ego keeps us coddled and protected. And whenever we deviate from the path, our ego says, hey, stop. You're afraid of this. You're not going to do it. And so, the ego, the brain, all of those things kind of work for us to a certain extent, and then they stopped working, and then it just creates fear in these like fear-based patterns. And it's funny you mentioned too about the inside. So our gut is considered our second brain, and we now know that there is so much goodness there, right? Our mental health is very much closely dependent on our gut health, and then reverse. So messages from the brain affect the gut. Like, for example, right? Like you say, oh, I just have that gut feeling, right? We use those terms, and so, and sometimes when we have some brain disorders like traumatic brain injuries, they lead to a lot of gut dysfunction. So there's this constant communication that people forget, and we ignore this gut feeling. And the gut bacteria that we have affects our brain health, and the food that we eat, the emotions that we take, intake, those are all inputs. They affect what's going on up here, but we often just power through because that's our society, right? That's the norm, right? You power through, you ignore all those warning signs, and so I'm still learning, right?
We all are. That's why we're here today. I'm learning from you. I'm like, this is why one of the main reasons why I do this is because I love learning from people like you. And I think that's another really important message about paying attention to your gut and how everything is connected. What do you say, speaking of the gut and eating and bacteria, what do you say when people say, what's the best diet for me? Because I'm sure you must get that a lot, right?
I love that question. Love it.
Because I get like, what skincare line should I use or whatever. So I imagine people say that to you.
Yes.
Right?
So love this question because, as you know, if you look at like any product, right, for skincare, we have the oily skincare, the dry, the semi. You have all of these different varieties, and same thing with diets and stuff. There's a concept called bio-individuality, which means that no single person is the same. We are all completely different. So, and a lot of people use this, oh, well, this worked for me, therefore it should work for everybody approach. And I hear that a lot, and that's super prevalent in my industry, and it's just not true. So there is no single diet that works for everyone, and somebody's poison is going to be somebody else's superfood, and vice versa. And so I try to tell my clients, and usually I go into this long explanation, and I try to understand that the media, the public propagates this one pill fixes all approach, and that's not true for skincare, for hair care, for diets, for exercises, nothing really. So it's like this N of one. You are a bio-individual, and your footprint is going to be completely different from your neighbors, and that's okay. You just have to honor that, accept that, and work with what you have.
And I think that's so great that you mentioned that, and that's the way that you treat your clients. For anyone out there listening, if someone tries to put you under an umbrella with everyone else and says this is the diet that everyone should be doing, I think you should acknowledge run. You should run. You can start your fitness goals early for the new year. You should start running because that is just it's not productive. It's not truthful, and it just simply doesn't work. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. There was one thing that I read online on your website, and it mentioned habit creation. And I didn't think too much about it. I wrote it down because I wanted you to explain to me what it means and why it's important.
Yeah, so habit creation, if whoever is interested in habit creation, James Clear, he's one of my favorite authors in the field of habit creation. So the majority, I think it was 90 to 95% of what we do on a daily basis is habitual, right? So you don't think about it. Habits live in the majority of our brains, and habits are created from infancy, and habits are an accumulation of every single input coming from your parents, from your playmates, from your teachers. And so a lot of this stuff you are not consciously aware of, because habits are subconscious. And there is a way to override it, right? Thus create new habits and break old ones. And it takes practice, and it takes bringing something into your conscious awareness. So where I like to start with people is just, track your daily activity, and from the moment when you wake up to the moment when you go to sleep, like wake up, roll over. A lot of people grab their phone, scroll, right, spend 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes on social media, then do this, do that, and then you start noticing where there's a disconnect between the person that you are striving to be and then what your habits say and do. And so I help people reprogram their habits so that they fit the person and the idea that they want to become, because it's so powerful. Because if you don't know that you're doing something that's causing you to take a few steps back, then how are you going to get there? And you can only power through, right? Like grit your teeth consciously through a diet only so long, and then your default setting takes over, especially in a stressful situation, right? You will always default to the path of least resistance. Humans will, and we are biologically programmed to do so. And so if you don't rewrite those habits, then you're going to keep falling back into the old traps, which is why diets largely don't work, because you didn't change your habits in your life, right? Does that make sense?
So it makes so much sense. That is so powerful, because at young ages, like you said, we're just downloading this information from our parents, from our friends, from the world around us. And then how do you change a habit without breaking it? That's so important. Like have to break it to change it. You know what I mean? But I think people are, like you were talking about, it's subconscious, right? It's just something you do without thinking about it. So I love that you teach people how to break those habits so that they can retrain their brains to not just subconsciously like regurgitate or do what they've always learned or what's been downloaded.
It's hard. It's really hard work.
It is hard work, because then you have to have like this hyper awareness, right? But it's great that you can take people to that place. It's great that you can take people. No, you do. That's part of what you do. And like I said, that's really, really powerful. It resonates a lot. So I know that you said you help women build confidence through movement, nutrition, and lifestyle. And I personally love that you incorporate all of these, because I think that they're really important. But can someone do one without the other? Can they do 2 out of 3 and get great results? How important is it that you address, or I don't know, incorporate all 3 of these at once?
So I started with just my entire fitness lifestyle, all that stuff journey started with just fitness. And I was hyper aware of, I was an athlete, high school, college, and so my physical fitness, right, being a certain size to compete, having six-packs, abs, so all of that stuff, was predominantly physical focus. I had guts issues. I had horrible cystic acne. I'm sure you see that a lot in women that you work with, right, through skincare.
I've dealt with it myself at certain points in my life, so absolutely, very common.
And so, the nutrition part wasn't part of it, lifestyle wasn't part of it, and so I kind of went along, something's missing. And then I discovered nutrition, and then I started working with a nutritionist, but then, had fitness and nutrition, and I was going along when still stuff was missing. And then gradually I started doing really deep mindful work and lifestyle work, and started purging toxic life situations, people, and all that stuff. And then things start falling into place. So do you have to simultaneously start working on all 3? No. However, at some point in time, I do believe that you need to look at and address all areas of your life, right? There's different, right, pockets. There's food that you consume that doesn't come on your plate. And I've been studying that deeply in the last year, and there's different areas of your life that you look at that feed you, feed your purpose, feed your soul. And feed your stress or lack thereof. And if you don't address and look at those areas, nothing else will line up. I've seen people that don't have the best diets or exercise routine, but their gut's functioning great, they're healthy, happy. And then on the opposite spectrum, there's people that work out, do all of the things, but come back frustrated and saying, well, I don't understand, why am I sick? And that was in that category, right? You're eating right, exercising, why do I still feel sick? Why am I miserable? Why am I depressed? And it's because all the other areas weren't out of line. So wherever you decide to start, just start. But it's just some point, I do encourage people to look at, everything. How is your, relationship, career, family, environment affecting your health? And oftentimes it's all of those things that are driving the bad habits, not the bad habits, the habits that aren't helping you get to where you want to go. Right? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and I'm really glad that you framed it that way, because I think there was a time in my life, not anymore, but there was definitely a time in my life where I didn't understand how emotions could affect health. They were two separate things, right? I feel fine, I don't have anything physically wrong with me.
To the medical community, they still are very different.
Yeah, but you brought up a great word, which was accumulation. And if it's not accumulating in one area, that doesn't mean it's not accumulating negatively in another area, right. i.e. emotions. So I think that was really very pointed, how you mentioned accumulation, and to address all three of those. Now, it's not to overwhelm anyone, because we can take those micro steps, like you said, and you can just start somewhere. And I think that's also a really powerful message, to just say, hey, just start somewhere, right? It's a lot of the times it's just, we want to be so perfect. We're waiting for these perfect moments to start, and it never happens. Yeah. So you just literally have to start, pick a category and start. And you can move forward and grow and add, and get a health coach like you to help guide you so you don't feel so alone.
That's a big thing too, not feeling alone, because we're tribal beings. We have to belong to a group, and as great as social media is, right? Research supports that we're now more divided and depressed. I mean, the rates. 1 in 5 people in the United States. This is from 27 national health or statistic, but basically 1 in 5 people suffer from a mental disorder. And this could be ranging from just mild depression, seasonal depression, to something very serious. And I'm sure a lot more people go undiagnosed, and a lot of it has to do, and don't seek help, but we're isolated. We don't have communities. We don't have people to talk to. And just like good habits are contagious, if somebody in your group is on this health kick, chances are other people around them will just naturally do the same thing. And same goes for the reverse, right? For negative habits, you have, peer pressure, social pressure, and all we really want to do is be part of a group and fit in. And so we're going to start replicating the habits of those around us. So
it reminds, I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. It just reminds me of that one quote about you are like the 5 most people that you spend your time with, right?
100%, yes.
And then I also heard something the other day, I never can remember because I listen to so many podcasts and expert interviews and stuff, but it was talking about people that you hang out with that you want to positively influence, and that sometimes you're not always able just to do that verbally because people get offended, they're set in their ways. So a really good way to do that is just to lead by example, which is what I think that you're kind of also getting to here, is that you act, and then you speak in alignment with how you're acting and living out your life, and people see that, and you become this positive influence. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I want to do what she's doing. You know what I mean? She's looking good. She's being healthy. She's happy. I want to do. And then they'll kind of be asking you, instead of you saying, you know what, you should really eat healthier. You really shouldn't do that. You should exercise more. You should stop smoking. Whatever it is.
Yeah, that has worked.
It's kind of
never.
Never. Right. Totally. It doesn't, because people, no one wants to be told like that they're not doing something right, or so it's definitely, if you love people and you want to make positive influences, it's just kind of like Gandhi, right? Be the change you want to see, right?
You kind of shut up and
you just do it.
You just do.
And then you are that positive influence. I know that is so true. I'm so glad you brought that up. I also, reading online, you said that you can help women, whether it's whatever the reason is, it really doesn't matter. Maybe they're getting married and want to get in shape for their wedding, or they have just had a baby and they're kind of just wanting to get that shape back, or maybe they're just wanting to overall get, a healthier lifestyle. You said that you can help guide them through the information overload that exists today. And when I read overload, I was like, OMG, like I have never felt more overwhelmed than when I have tried to seek information, like health information online, because say I watch or listen to 5 different people that I respect. They all have slightly different views, and I'm still left like, I don't know what to do. I'm feeling very overwhelmed. So to help kind of simplify things for us, what is the one thing that someone could do if they're wanting to just start? What is the one thing that someone could do that would make the biggest difference, like just getting them going in the right direction?
I would say pick a habit in any category. Okay, whether it's nutrition, whether it's exercise, a new face cleansing routine, pick a category and start building a habit around it. So make it easy and accessible. For example, if you want to start working out, be very specific. When and use the I am, I will phrases, because that reinforces a whole slew of brain chemicals, and you're basically speaking your truth. You're speaking what you want into existence. So write it down. Say I am going to exercise Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever. Put it on the calendar and set your alarm. Pick a time and day. Pick the same time every time, and set your clothes out the night before. So build this whole infrastructure around the habit that will get you started. And here's the thing, drastic changes really rarely work. Just doing 1% more, or moving that needle in the right direction by 1%, that 1% is going to accumulate, and that's going to give you the best return on investment versus just picking at all these different things and expecting these grand transformations. Like really, all transformation is a person committed to consistency over an extended period of time. And research shows that the diet, for example, speaking of just diets, every single diet works. The keto, the vegan, the vegetarian, the paleo, my grandma's peanut butter sandwich diet, whatever. But consistency is what separates the people who get there and people who fall apart. So just doing that 1% every single day is what's going to get you there, whatever it is.
I completely agree. So just to clarify, if I'm wanting to start working out again, then I'm going to put it into writing, because that helps. And I'm going to say when I'm going to do it, the time, where I'm going to do it, so that I'm more likely to actually do it. Because for some people, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. That's definitely for me. So it better get on there. And so, whether it's that you're going to eat healthier, it's making that grocery list ahead of time and just sticking to it. It can be really simple, but just creating a habit around whatever it is. And creating that habit means being consistent.
Correct. That's
so
the key.
Consistency is key. And I think that's so applicable to other areas, many other areas, if not all areas of our life. So I'm so glad that you answered that question for us, because there's just so many people that they just don't know what that one thing is to get started. It's just like, pick a place, guys, where you want to start and just write it down and make a commitment and then start and stick to your commitment. because it's commitment to yourself. It's right.
Those are the easiest ones that we break. So
Totally.
tell somebody.
Totally.
Ask your support network. Ask your
Oh, I like
significant
that.
other. You know, have them hold you accountable. I mean, that's what I do for people, right? I hold them accountable. Nothing that I say is groundbreaking. I'm borrowing information from all different circles and teachers and, you know, books and research, and I just regurgitate that to my clients, and then I keep them accountable to whatever they committed to doing. So when you can do that for, you know, whoever, and it's always good to ask someone for help. I have a coach, right? I have multiple coaches.
That's great that you said that. Coaches have coaches.
100%.
Coaches have coaches, guys. So
Yes, every single
Yeah.
successful coach
Yeah.
will give you a list
yeah.
of all the different people in different areas. I mean, look at, you know, LeBron James. He has one of the greatest basketball players, and period, people, athletes. He has a mindset coach, a recovery, dietitian, nutritionist. He has a slew of supporting network. Now, can we all afford LeBron's lifestyle? No. You can have support. You can have somebody else that you turn to for accountability.
I love that you said that, and I love LeBron James play. Also, I just want to say I watched with Alex. I watched the is it the Barbershop? Is that what it's called? The Barbershop, and he was on recently, and he's really inspiring. But yeah, accountability is really important, and if you can't afford to pay for someone, an accountability coach, then, you know, go to a friend that has like similar interest. Maybe it's someone else that just had a baby and is wanting to get back in shape. Or maybe it's one of your BFFs who likes to work out, or if maybe has nothing to do with working out. Maybe it's just you're wanting to change your diet. I'm just giving you random examples, and you know someone else is also, and you can kind of just have that support for accountability. I know I have one with business, and she's just one of my friends that owns a really successful business, and we try, even if it's once a week, we try to be each other's accountability partners. So that's really, really very precious advice. I just want to talk to you because you were really transparent with me right from the beginning about your mental health challenges over the years. And I'm just wondering, how did your mental health journey inspire you to help others? And it doesn't have to be loaded. I don't mean to I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't have to share more than you want to share, but I know that it's very common, and I feel really blessed that having known people that have had these challenges, and probably myself at some point in my life too. I think all of us struggle at different times in our life with this, but I feel blessed that it's being something that's not taboo and that we can just kind of talk to about and support each other with. So I just want to say thank you for just even being willing to talk about it, because not everybody would be as transparent. But for you, that's something that is important, and it's affected you, and I know it bleeds over into your work and also helps you with your health coaching, I'm sure, having that personal experience. So I just wanted to ask how it's inspired you to help others.
So mental health in all the different capacities was never talked about in my household growing up. So I'm Russian, born, raised, and the persona that we all had was handle your stuff. There is no such thing as mental health. I mean, that was 20 plus years ago. People didn't feel comfortable talking about it, and or it wasn't recognized, or the importance wasn't recognized. And so I don't remember how I started. Basically, I started keeping a journal since I was, 8, 9 years old. So I was looking back at some of my entries, 1997. And so I started tracing, now knowing what I know, right back my history of mental health. And one of the things I realized is just how little we get help or recognition that mental health is important. I struggled with, now knowing what it is, depression in, growing up, because I was moved around from 2 different cultures, 2 different countries, back and forth since the age of 7. And I didn't belong here and I didn't belong there. And so, my parents didn't know really how to handle me. I was a very eccentric child. I was loud. I, was rough, all these different things. And so my culture preached conformity. And so as a result, I remember I wrote a poem in 5th grade. Like we all had to write I am poems. And as now knowing, I am statements are incredibly powerful. Really, what comes after I am or I'm not is truly your identity. And my poem wrote, I am a life error. So I went through this entire poem talking about how much my life sucks, how much I want to die. And my teacher, and I remember this clearly also not equipped to handle something like that, she called me to her office and said she will not, and these poems were posted on in a hallway outside of our 5th grade classroom. And some people were drawing like unicorns and hearts, and I'm like, black, I am a life error, right? So she said she wouldn't post it, and that I would receive a failing grade if I didn't rewrite it. And I remember I burst into tears, and I said, that's how I feel, I don't want to rewrite it. And she's like, are you sure this is what you want to go with? And so she gave me an F, and my mom and dad got called into school, and there was this whole thing, and they too didn't understand, because they're very Russian parents, and they got a call from school means I did something wrong, and so I got in more trouble, right? So I found validation throughout my life, throughout my childhood, that I'm not feeling good, and then I shouldn't speak up, because when I do, I get in trouble for it, right? And so writing was my outlet. I had a sister who was a child psychologist, so that helped too, and I would talk to her, but I kept writing throughout the years. And then, I just, when I started going into, after, I started coaching and stuff, I'm like, there's still something missing. And so I started looking into, the power of language and neurolinguistic programming. I went down that rabbit hole, and light bulbs started coming up for me. I started looking at my life and like, oh my gosh, like I am, I'm not doing so well. Like on the outside, I have to be happy and eccentric and I'm this happy-go-lucky all the time, and on the inside, like I'm dying. And piece by piece, through talking to people, and I had really, really great mentors, right? I hired coaches and mentors, and they were able to kind of hit a pause button and, pull me out of it. And, I'm big into reading and, again, studying and research and trying to understand, like, what does the literature say about mental health, and what are these patterns, and what does psychology say, and then look back on what I'm experiencing, and then coach myself out of that, and kind of justify and basically say, oh, hey, this is okay, this is normal. And again, I had mentors and that really pointed some things out for me, which is now I can do that for my clients, like, right, ask the right question, and then not tell somebody what to do, because that's not my job. My job is to ask the right question and then have kind of the story unfold in front of their own eyes. So it's still work in progress, but basically just over the years trying to give myself grace and understand that this is okay, this is part of the process, and we all have trauma and some sort, and this is how it comes out, and this is what it looks like, and it's okay to sit with it, to unpack, to use different modalities like therapy, meditation, writing, music. I have a wonderful dog that is essentially my therapy dog.
He is so cute.
So just
he is so cute.
It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of work and just a lot of love, self-love, which a lot of people, I wasn't taught self-love. In fact, it was the opposite. self-love wasn't a concept that anyone in my family grew up with. But it goes to show, just because you didn't grow up with something, or just because you got downloaded certain habits and thoughts and beliefs, doesn't mean you have to retain them. Doesn't mean you can't flip the script, flip the story, and write your own story.
I love that.
We're doing now.
I love that. Doesn't mean you can't break it.
Yeah.
Yes. And change that narrative. That is so inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's even more powerful when you're helping someone to know. I should say it the other way around. If someone's helping me, I feel like it's more powerful for me to know that it's coming through with the experience. I know that's not always the case. People get certifications and they learn stuff and they teach it, and that's awesome. That's totally respectable. But, for me, I love knowing that where that advice is coming from someone that's lived it. I think that's even more resonating and
makes it more relatable.
Yeah. I'm not trying to wish bad things upon people so that they can teach them, but I'm just saying those are the stories that resonate with me, and then I feel like, okay, she totally, or he or whoever it is, totally understands me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So exactly, relatable, and that's great to have that in your bag when you're teaching.
I think it's a
and
human experience in general. I don't think that anyone comes out of this life without having some form of, bruises, or doesn't come out banged up. Nobody comes out clean and perfectly great, right? Because life isn't perfect and we're imperfect. And so as long as you recognize that and you're able to love all of those parts of yourself, I think you'll be fine. And surround yourself with people who also love those parts about you, because that wasn't always the case for me. And fitting in or trying to fit in as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, as an adult, that's such bull. But yet we need it, right? So trying to change who you are just to fit into this certain mold is a very, very common story. And I see it in my clients that are in their early 20s, 30s, and 60s. So it's truly, I think it's a human experience, and especially for women, so many women feel so much and don't really have the tools to process that or in a healthy way, right? And so I think it takes a lot of nurture and support, and just understanding that no matter what, you're justified in feeling the way you feel. And I think there's love for all of us at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the road, and if you believe in that, then you're all good.
Well, whoever works with you is very lucky, because
Thank you.
I really appreciate your vulnerability. I think that is
It's something new. I'm trying it on like a pair of shoes.
I'm a fan of Brené Brown, and
yes!
I understand how vulnerability, from how she teaches it, is the scariest thing in the world and the bravest thing that people can be. So I appreciate you sharing that. So this is maybe a little bit more of a lighthearted question.
Love it.
What? Thank you. Thank you. What are some of the misconceptions people have about your profession? Because I know, when I talk to Stephanie, and she's in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of misconceptions about what goes on, what people see on TV versus what goes on behind the scenes. When I talk to my filmmaker friend, it's kind of the same thing. People view that as being glamorous, and and it's not. Filmmaking is definitely not glamorous. And I kind of view yours as kind of the same thing, because you see the pictures on Instagram and you're working out, you're looking good, you got a hard body, everybody's smiling, it's positive, it's motivational, and those are the images that we see. But what are the biggest misconceptions that people have about what you do versus what they kind of see?
Coaches and trainers don't have bad days.
Oh, wow.
So I get it. Celebrities have this aura about them that they're perfectly manicured and makeuped all the time, right? hairstylists, right? Their hair needs to be done because this is what they do. And with trainers and coaches, I think people assume that we have the most perfect diets and that we never have days where we just either gorge or we eat, or we drink alcohol or any of that stuff, right? And that's so silly because we're humans. I have bad days. I have days when I have to coach myself and or reach out to somebody to pull me out. I just had that day the other day where it was just a very challenging day, and I found myself, defaulting to fear and insecurity. And so we all have those because, again, that's a human experience. The other thing too is people assume that trainers work out all day, every day.
Wait, you don't? Because I totally thought that you get up at the crack of dawn, you start working out, and then you work out all day long. And then
it's funny. There's a guy that I run into at my apartment complex, and he always says something along the lines of, "Oh, is this like your 5th workout for the day?" I'm like, dude, what? I am not a professional athlete. It's like, yes, they work out. Like, I used to live the life of 2 a days, maybe sometimes 3 a days, when I was in my 20s. Like, no, right? Like, we don't work out all day. We can sit on our butts on the couch with our feet up, watching our favorite show. We're allowed to do these things, and so like those types.
But you work out every day, right?
No, I don't.
No?
I do something physical. I move my body.
Okay.
But that's a new thing too for me because I used to overtrain, and I'm a recovering overtrainer.
Okay.
And now sometimes I'll go for a walk, and just to go for a walk.
I'm feeling better about myself already.
There we go. So no, trainers don't work out every single day. No, we don't eat, these broccoli flavorless chicken and the half a cup of rice. Like that's not real life. I mean, gosh, what else? I mean, you tell me. What do you think?
I have to say.
What do you think?
I honestly have to say, I am ignorant. I did think that you worked out every day, or like it maybe if I really had to think about it, took a day off. But I would assume that you would work out every day, and maybe even sometimes multiple times a day, just because I'm thinking you're training people, so maybe you're kind of like working out with them a little bit. So yeah, that was definitely part of my.
So here's the thing. Training with somebody, I actually, for the most part, I stopped doing that years ago because when I'm training, I can't correct form. I can't, zoom out and see what's going on with the person's body. And so, and every once in a while, like I have clients that if I don't jump in there with them, they're not going to do the work.
Oh, they're gonna start looking at you. This is interesting.
And so
interesting.
There are those, right? And then I've jumped in and like played tug of war, or like Steph, right? I'll jump in and finish or pace her through a race, things like that, right? But that's very different from what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I think the misconception is that trainers train with all of their clients all the time. One, that's super challenging on the body. No. Number 2, I can't coach. I am a coach. Right?
It makes sense.
I have to step out and I have to see what's going on.
It makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that for me. And like I said, for making me feel better. I'm like, whew, all right. So this is a question I don't want to leave out. Because I think that a lot of people, would you say this is your dream job, first of all, before I want to preface it, before I ask the question?
It totally is.
Okay, so you're living your dream job. There's a lot of people out there. Some people, we love to make up excuses. Our subconscious loves to just repeat patterns and make up excuses, right, for why we can't. I think someone said something like, when we decide to do something, there's 7 seconds or something like that before we change our mind, right? So knowing that you're living your dream job, how and knowing you have been in the health industry for many, many years, how was the transition as far as doing this thing that you love and making a living at it? Because those can also be different things. People can love to do something, but maybe they still have a 9-to-5 and they're doing it when they get home or on the weekends or whatever. You're doing this full time, right, for a living. So what was that transition like for you? Did you have to work other jobs to make ends meet before you could just say, this is the only thing that I'm doing? Like, what was that like? Because I think people also have misconceptions about that.
Yes. To
Okay.
all the things.
Okay.
It took a long time. So throughout the last 10 years, it was a lot of growing and get. So when I first moved to Austin, I was still doing the grad school thing and then started training on the side. And I used to bartend. I bartended for quite a few years in Austin. And there's several years that I don't remember. They were so traumatic for me because I was miserable going into work every day. I had terrible general managers who were sexually harassing me and some other bartenders. There was a lot of alcohol involved, and I was still and on top of all that, there was so much hatred towards myself because I wasn't living what I was preaching, and that was the biggest disconnect for me. I was saying, hey, do this, and this, yet I was sleeping 4 or 5 hours a day. I was still working out, right? I was still eating healthy, but like my mental health was crap, and I was drinking more than I ever have, and so that's not the kind of life that I wanted to live, but I was living it, right? So that's a really unfortunate disconnect, and it makes you feel even worse. And so gradually I started ditching that part of my life and really stepping into this full-time thing. And I worked for some gyms here in town in Austin, and then gradually went into corporate fitness and had it was a 9-to-5 but within the fitness industry job. So I'm a stepping stone kind of person. I don't like drastic changes, like a drastic transformation. I like my research. I really love my research. And before I take a step, I like to see what are all my options because I don't like to be locked in. So gradually, the last little leap of faith of going into a business for myself, that was terrifying. That was my whole body resisting for fear of the unknown. However, I made that leap with the support network that I had accumulated by this point, and I'm so happy that I did. And the more I learn about it, the more I see our life as no matter what, your success is inevitable. It's no matter what you want to do. Right? You want to be the best barista, great. Your success is 100% inevitable. So knowing that can relieve a lot of pressure, right? What would you think if I said, look, no matter what you want to do, you 100% life is going to line up in such a way that that's going to happen? Wouldn't that feel like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, this is great. So then that gives you a chance to really figure out what do the steps look like. And so I think that's what I'm doing now. There's still days that I'm stressed out, or thankfully my boyfriend, my wonderful, incredible partner, is helping me with the challenges that I have in my business on the technical side. So I have support there, but
oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
you got to have some support.
Yeah, and it can be
wonderful.
Anything, right? It's just people in your network
that are rooting for you and behind you, and not like pulling you back. And also, I just want to add to what you were saying. It's the progress. As you were talking, I was like, okay, well, that makes sense, because you may have not been in your ideal position, but you are a real strategist, right? You're a tactical type person.
Right? And then looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I was doing the 1% to get to my next step, to the next step, right? It was like a little carrot in front of me. It wasn't just overnight. And some people do it. Some people do it successfully. Just wake up one day and just go, all right, I'm going to be this whole other person. And that's incredible. but I found a way that works for me, and it's a lot more gradual. But no, it reflects in the type of coaching that I do. I'm not good at transformations. Like, I don't know how to guide somebody that way. I'm not good at giving a diet and saying, okay, boom, this is gonna make you this is gonna make you Paul Abdul overnight. No, but like gradual, right? That's how I experience life, right? One step at a time, and that's what comes out and what I do. And you know, if that doesn't resonate with somebody, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not my person.
It's to me, it's sustainable. You're talking about sustainability. Like most things. What is that quote also? You might have to help me out with this. It's about how all of the people that have that appear to have like overnight success have been working. It's been they've been working all of their lives for this one moment of overnight.
The quote is like, it took me 10 years to achieve my overnight success.
It took me 10 years. That was from Alex, whoever's listening.
No, it's true.
It is so true, right? But I love that sustainability, and that is something that takes time and commitment, which you mentioned earlier. I love that. Just kind of wrapping things up, I have a couple more things that are also a little bit more lighthearted and fun that I think you'll like. So what would you say out there to the people listening? There's going to be someone that has, maybe they have a dream of doing some of what you do, or even all of what you do, because you are so multifaceted. So what would you say to that person? What would you say, how should they get started, or where should they start if they're just like, oh, I love the world of health, or maybe, okay, I know I'm kind of rambling on here, but it is really overwhelming. There's health coaches, there's wellness coaches, there's life coaches. I just looked up coaches the other day, and I think there was like 10 or 20 spiritual coaches. Like, there were like all these coaches. I'm like, what the hell are all these coaches doing? Like, obviously they're all doing something and they have their niche fields, but I'm just saying it's very overwhelming. Maybe people are interested in like the generalness of being in the wellness industry, but they just don't know where to get started. Could you just give them a little bit advice, like the roadmap, just a place to get started?
Roadmap is, first of all, you're right, there's so many different categories. So roadmap is to figure out which one speaks to you, right? And this is where I like to go, feeling first, thinking second. So feel out what direction you want to go in, whether it's nutrition, whether it's health, whether it's pre and postnatal, what speaks to you, right? So feel that, and then you can write it out, and then you can do the thinking. And the thinking comes in with kind of backtracking, reaching out in your network, and social. This is where social media comes into play, right? It connects people, so then you can follow up with that personal connection. See who is doing what you're doing, and reach out to them. Ask for resources. Say, hey, where did you get started, or is there a good book or this and that you can recommend? And so my trails that I would look at people that were doing, I still do that do what I do, and I ask for guidance. I read a lot, and so I draw inspiration from people that are way smarter than me. But step one is just figuring out which direction you want to head in this health coaching industry, or training or whatnot, and find mentors. Because the cool thing about mentors and coaches is they have already done all of this legwork essentially for you. And so they can meet you where you are at and give you their resources that are applicable for that moment in time, so that you can kind of skip all of this.
The guidance.
Right? Yes. Maybe you can learn from their mistakes, right? Like you see somebody walking off the cliff. You see one person walk off the cliff, another person, and then by the time you walk to the cliff, you're like, maybe I shouldn't walk off that cliff.
Not a good idea anymore.
That's where coach comes into play.
Yeah.
So find what you want to do.
So I'm hearing get quiet first, because you have to feel. You have to honor the feeling, right? And the only way you can do that is to shut your busy brain off. You said think second. Yeah. Shut your busy brain off. Think. Feel first, right? Feel what feels right, and then think, and then maybe reach out and research, right? Because part of it is researching and finding people that might serve you in the way of a mentorship or coach, and then just start from there. right? Just
Because
start.
after
It's a good
that,
place to start.
yeah, it's a great place to start
Yeah.
because after that, you're going to pretty much figure out what's going on, where the road bumps are going to happen, and
Yeah.
if that's a road bump that you can handle, right? That you want to handle, or it's like, no, let's pivot. And it's always okay to pivot. It's always, and people
Right.
start, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on my education for a career that I just dropped. And now I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on my education in the direction that I love, that, is serving me so much better.
And so I just want to add to that also, because I could say the same thing, because I went to school for radio, television, film, and now, we're recording this, but I'm not exactly making a feature film here, doing a podcast.
Yet.
So, yet, for sure. That's definitely on my list. I think big. And as you get to know me, you'll realize that we probably share the same kind of brain in that department. But I do think that collectively all of the things, they're not throwaway things. Those things that you learned in business school, those things that maybe they didn't directly apply to the type of work that you're doing now, they definitely come into play in certain aspects of it. So you will use it so people don't feel like any of your experience is wasted, because it will all beautifully come together in perfect harmony in a symphony at some point. Yeah, you'll definitely get to unicorn status, right? And this is the other thing, but I just want to say, because I feel like people maybe feel like, like I wasted my time or wasted my money or whatever. And yeah, I could feel the same way, but now I'm doing things. This is still has to do with media, and we're still doing sound, and we're video recording things, and I have to visually understand how to tell a story. And so in business, that would have been a great degree to get for anything that you're going to be able to apply that to. So I just want to encourage people, chances are you are going to change your mind if you go to college. Just chances are, because the real world experience and real life experience is so much different than sitting behind a desk and learning, which I definitely encourage, but I'm just saying it's so much different. The chances are it's going to change, but you can definitely apply that knowledge. And I love this. I've actually heard a couple different people say it in different ways. So I've heard Rachel Hollis say it. I've heard Marie Forleo say it, that you can do, and I'm sure many other coaches, that you can do everything in life that you want to do, just not all at the same time. Because I know for me, something...
I just wrote a blog post on that, or on a little Instagram post, on that same exact quote.
How resonating is that? Because I know if I'm picking one thing, let's say I'm interested in the wellness field and I'm picking one thing, that almost gives me anxiety, because I don't want to just pick one thing. I want to learn about everything, but I know you can't just be all over the place all over the time. You would never get anything done. You need to pick a few things. You need to really focus and give it your all for anything to ever blossom into anything worthwhile, right? And I've lived long enough to understand that. But at the same time, I just watched a documentary last night. I think it was called Jacob, where this guy has 9 or 10 degrees. He's a lawyer, a doctor, and all of these things. And I'm definitely not trying to go down that path, but I'm just saying his dream was to be a fiction writer. He's a prolific writer. He's a award-winning, I think, playwright also.
He's a lifelong student.
He is, but that was his dream, and he took all of that stuff and he incorporates it, embodies it into the characters of his story. Yeah. And so I would like us to use that as a metaphor, because I think everything that we learn can create this beautiful narrative and contribute to it, which I think is what you're doing, which I think is so...
Nothing's thrown away.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Anybody that has you as a coach is lucky. So we're going to definitely post all that information.
You hear that, guys?
Is so lucky. She I just want to say you trained, the way I met you was that you were on Studio 512 on the same day that I was doing a segment, but you are a trainer for the two TV host of Studio 512, which is Rosie and Stephanie, right? For both of them?
Yeah, and I do two completely different things for both of them.
Totally. Bio-individuality. I've learned so much today. So yeah, so anybody who gets you is definitely getting someone special. Want to leave on just one last question, which I've decided to ask everyone. You're the first one, by the way, so you're special. The first one that I'm going to ask this question to, but moving forward, because I think we can all learn from so much in this way. What is your favorite quote And also, if you have one, and why? That's what I would like to ask.
I have a lot of them, and recently they all kind of accumulate to this. So this is a quote by my favorite author. He's a Portuguese author, Paulo Coelho. He wrote The Alchemist. Just amazing book. But and he wrote, "You are what you believe yourself to be." And neuro-linguistic programming teaches that too. You speak your words reflect your inner language, what you're thinking. And if you think yourself to be broken or limited or not enough, your outside will reflect that. So you are literally not what you eat, but you are what you believe yourself to be. And so if you can start working on and changing the beliefs, that has been honestly the biggest blessing, the biggest gift in my development, is I just started being kinder to myself, and I started believing that I am worthy, and I am not all of the trauma. Like, I am not my trauma, I am not my baggage, I am not my work, I am just me, and I happen to do all these things. So I believe a lot more and a lot higher of myself and what I'm capable of now than I ever have. And I think that is so true. But when people get this, magic happens, because then everything else changes after that. Because they think that they're limitless, right? Anything they touch will be successful and or somehow enriching and positive to them. So
that is amazing. That is so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I feel like I could sit here and talk to you for many, many hours. And I know we have to end, but it reminds me of Bruce Lipton.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Biology We Believe. Best books.
So you just could not have picked a better quote.
I love Bruce Lipton.
Me too. It just was reminding me of him when you were talking about you believing it, and when you believe it, you're.
He proved that, right?
He did prove that in Petri dishes. Hand hug. I love it. Yes.
This part is like, this is not some frou-frou, woo-woo pseudoscience.
No, it's not.
This is biology. This is peer-reviewed research, you guys.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, and it's so life-changing, and we need more of that.
And we do need more of that. Well, I think we need more of you too, so I'll have to put you on the spot, as I love to do, and say, would you like to come back for a part 2?
Oh, I would love to.
We're just getting started, guys. We're just getting started. Thank you again, Kristina. You are just like this beautiful, awesome. For those that are out there listening and aren't, well, no one's here with us, but except for Megan and Alex. But if they're not watching and they're just listening, you just like from the moment I met you, you were I felt an authentic. I'm just gonna say, it's gonna sound cheesy, but like ray of sunshine. Not that you were like overly smiling and cheesy, nothing like that. But it was just like cheesy. It was a Christmas special. You were doing a Christmas segment though. I'm just saying, maybe that's where that was coming from. Yeah, to be fair, guys. But it was authentic. I think that's the thing to put focus on. I felt a real authenticity from you right when I met you, which I don't feel a lot of the time, because I feel like people are always putting on this little facade of what they should be or think that they should be. So I felt that realness from you, and I just went, that's a cool chick. Definitely, that's a cool chick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.